Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. So thanks for waiting patiently in the waiting room here while we kind of get all of our stuff kind of prepped here in the back end. So today's presentation, Salesforce versus Dynamics 365, which is right for you, and or are there others? We really want to help everyone in the business community make an informed decision for their success. With that, we're going to get through some the housekeeping items and introductions and things like that before we dive deep into the content. But we have some great information to cover today that we're excited about. So a real quick blurb about SWCTech. I'd be remiss if we didn't introduce ourselves. So my name is Eric Clark. I am a client success associate with SWCTech. I've been with the company for over 3 years now and help out with events like these. And SWCTech, we're primarily a managed service provider traditionally, and we help a lot of businesses act as their IT department or support and supplement and complement existing IT managers or departments and really enable them to leverage technology to scale their growth. An interesting fact about SWCTech, just real quick while I'm on the topic, we've had 0 bytes lost. We have a world-class customer service offering with a very high net promoter score, and we did win Small Business of the Year award last year. Some housekeeping items. We are going to pause a few times along the way to allow the opportunity to ask questions and answer those questions. So if you have them, please post them to the Q&A chat. And then Ryan, our moderator on the back end, will bring them forward. I will read those, when we have those breaks in the presentation to make sure we're addressing them. If we don't get to all of them, don't worry, that's okay. We'll have some Q&A at the end also for any overflow. Again, we are doing this remotely, so everyone is in different places. And so if there's any sort of technical glitches, we're hopefully very prepared for some plan Bs around that. But if there's a dog barking or a kid screaming, that's probably coming from me. So I apologize. Please bear with us and enjoy the presentation. One thing I wanted to mention, we like to start with why at SWCTech a lot in how we present things. And so why CRM? Look, it's a topic that we've seen a need for from our clients and from prospects. It's a topic that is very closely related to supporting technology and infrastructure, and one that we've had some positive experience with TopLine Results, who will be doing most of the presentation today. So where it's helped us specifically as an organization is around our sales and processes, as well as our marketing and marketing automation. So we're really excited to introduce TopLine Results to present on this topic. I will let them do their own introduction because I won't do it any justice, and we're excited to do that. So Melanie, if you want to go ahead and share your screen and take over, that would be great.
Thank you, and I am going to share now. Hopefully everybody can see that. Thank you, Eric, for the opportunity to present. We really want to extend a huge appreciation to SWCTech and their entire team for giving us the opportunity to join their Brain Food event today. And we hope over the next few minutes we'll give you some insights that will really help you be better informed about which CRM is right for you, either Salesforce or Microsoft Dynamics 365. They're both wonderful customer relationship management systems. So if you're not familiar with CRM, that's what it stands for. We'll talk about those and how they compare. But first, let's jump into some introductions. Doreen, go for it.
Hi, everyone. I'm Doreen Bridges. I'm the Vice President at TopLine Results, and I will be Melanie's assistant today in our presentation. What I love about my job is working with our customers and seeing the success they achieve by implementing the solution offerings we have. And each project is unique. Even if the company is in the same industry, they all have similar themes, but everyone goes to market in a different way. And it really is very rewarding.
Thanks, Doreen. I'm one of the owners of TopLine Results. I'm also the Chief Operating Officer, and I spent a lot of my career actually in multinational corporations and learned a lot about leading sales teams at the national level, leading marketing teams, and also process, and got very good at process with Lean Six Sigma, got certified up to the Master Black Belt level, and I bring that expertise to our clients. And I, like Doreen, love the variety of the job because every client is different, and helping them meet their business objectives is what makes us successful. A little bit about TopLine Results. We've been around since 1999, and we're primarily based in Wisconsin, but we do have an office in Chicago. All of our technical resources work out of our Pewaukee office or their virtual home office, and we support clients in about 20 states and several countries. And again, we're delighted SWCTech is one of our clients. There's really 3 areas that we focus on. CRM is near and dear to our heart. That's why we started, and that's why we still exist today. But to complement that, we also help folks align and connect their digital marketing automation to their CRM. So their sales and marketing teams are aligned, and we help them with their processes using some of those Six Sigma tool sets that I learned along the way. So enough about us. Let's jump into the topics at hand. And today we're going to talk about the 2 platforms, Salesforce and Microsoft Dynamics, and what they have in common. We are going to take a quick look at both user interfaces, and Doreen's going to get us right into the system so we can see what they look like, the look and feel, and give a brief overview. That'll have to be very short or we'll run out of time. We're going to then jump into some pros and cons of both platforms. We'll spend a little bit of time talking about some nonprofit options and why, how the 2 platforms are different and why a CRM is better than a donor database. And then we'll have some online and other support options available, as well as decision criteria for making a choice. Along the way, again, if you do have any questions, please post them to the Q&A. We'll stop every now and then and see what questions you might have and try to answer them as we go. And then we'll save a little bit of time at the end. Excuse me, so let's just jump right into our first slide here about Gartner's Magic Quadrant for Salesforce automation. So Gartner is a global research and advisory firm that provides information, advice, and tools for leaders in IT and finance and HR and customer service and legal and supply chain, etc. And they have this methodology called their Magic Quadrant, where they map along the x-axis the completeness of vision, and along the y-axis, the ability to execute. And you can see up in their leader quadrant, which is where you want to be, both of the platforms exist. Again, this is from a third-party perspective. And as a leader, we know that both of these companies are executing well against their current vision and are well positioned for tomorrow. So that makes us comfortable to talk about these 2. We know if you're going to make a choice for CRM, these are the 2 best in the industry, and either choice can be really good. Doreen, on to you.
Thanks, Melanie. So as we take a look at each solution, CRM really had humble beginnings. It started over 20 years ago as a technology for users to track their contacts. It was like an electronic Rolodex. You could put some activities, track your relationships with your prospects and your potential customers. Today, it's really evolved into so much more, and it's referred to now as a platform. So the evolution of CRM is that CRM is more than just a sales tool. It offers a very robust platform with end-to-end business applications that you can choose and plug in for your business as needed. Those components, some of them on the screen, are things like, yes, sales, also marketing, maybe customer service, and field service is important to you. And next, in the Salesforce platform, we will see very similar themes as far as the technology offerings. However, they just have different terminology. So sales is there, instead of customer service, it's called service, and so on. So the takeaway from the platform structure is that organizations now need to start planning a long-term strategy for their business solutions as it relates to CRM. Melanie will talk more about this in later slides, but the discussion topics now really take place in the initial conversations about what your organization is trying to achieve today, maybe 5 years and 10 years down the road. And then that may help in your decision making between the two solutions. Next, we'd like to do a quick review of both products, and we're showing some screens. There'll be a quick test after today to see if you can tell which product is which. Just kidding. But we will show you general navigation today, our accounts, contacts, and opportunities, a little bit on searching. We'll talk about our list views and how those can be very helpful for simple analytics, our dashboards, which we're showing, and a little bit on Outlook integration. Now, because we can only spend a very few minutes today on these topics, we do want to let you know that we're more than willing to get on a private presentation with anyone who's interested in learning more about the applications. So I will switch my screen and we'll start looking at the actual applications. And I will pause for just a moment. And first, we'll take a look at the Microsoft Dynamics 365 platform. In the platform, we can set a home page to show things like dashboards and analytics. In the main screen in Dynamics 365, we will see our navigation bar, which we will travel through the different components in our CRM database during the course of our day. We will be looking at accounts and contacts, also maybe the deals in our pipeline and what we're working with. And then all of the main information for the data will be represented in the main screen. Dashboards are interactive in both products, which are very nice. I'm looking at representation from my pipeline on my hot opportunities, and all those opportunities are then sorted by stage. You can also take a look at your opportunities if you'd like by revenue or just count them by rating. You can also bring into the dashboard different components from the Dynamics database for things like activities to have those visible to you. Again, these applications in the panels can be drillable, so we can click very quickly into the related records, take a look at that data set, and then further filter into the data set to take quick action and review some of the analytics there. Those are the dashboards in Dynamics. They're really fun to use. In Dynamics, there are system views here, and those are views offered out of the box by default in the program. And each user is allowed to personalize the system. So from user to user or from department to department, you may have different data sets that the users like to take a look at. Then we'd like to jump right into an account record, and I can show you very quickly the searching capability. If I wanted to go to a customer that I was working with, we'll just pretend today that TopLine Results is one of our customers. And when I do look up in Dynamics, you'll see you have to just type in a little bit of that title, and you will return all the accounts that have the word TopLine, any related contacts, opportunities, and this list would go on if you had related activities, etc. So the system makes it very easy to find information. And we'll just click into the TopLine Results account record to take a quick look at the detail view. So the data presentation in the layout can be changed. We did want to show you how it looks out of the box. So we do have basic fields and labels of information related to the account. In the middle section, you'll find our timeline, which is all the historical data related to emails or calls that have been completed or meetings that you've had. And then on the right-hand side, you'll see, again, related data based on the other contacts that are at the organization or possibly the opportunities that we're working with on this account. And of course, we are always working with people. No matter how account-centric our business is, at the end of the day, we're speaking with a person. So the contact record in all of our CRM solutions is a very important record, again, where you are recording either activities or the history of what's happening with that contact. On the records, we do have different tabs. And again, these records can be totally customized based on what your business needs are. The summary tab, especially for the contact, will be basic information for the contact. We have a details tab that can give us personal information. We can log some personal notes. We can track our contact methods, etc. So a lot of good information right at our fingertips. And then really the purpose of a dynamic CRM or a Salesforce system specifically is to help foster business growth within the organization. And we do that by tracking our opportunities and what deals are we working on, whether you call them deals, opportunities, projects. The form can also be customized based on what your business needs are. Again, out of the box, we are looking at what is the opportunity about and who are we working with on this opportunity? What is the related data? We do have a process bar, so it's very visual on an opportunity, what stage I'm in. And within that opportunity, we can do coaching, such as showing on each stage what is the related data that business development representative needs to attain. So really very insightful, again, out of the box, not a lot of customizations. Dynamics, you can update right directly in the field. So in Dynamics, you are always in edit mode. You click inside of a field, and for, again, the purchase process, I'd want to record that the decision will be made by a committee. And again, that's just an example of a default field that's included out of the box. So very easy to update. In our list views, I do want to show that these can be customized, and Microsoft really takes advantage of its integration or its visualizations with its other products, like all the Office suite that you use. So our list views, both products, look very much like an Excel view. You can do quick filtering, and again, out of the box, you do have the capabilities of having custom list views that are offered by Microsoft, and you can create your own list views, which are really nice. We do have, again, Outlook integration. So before I show that, I'd like to jump and review Salesforce quickly for you. So as we open up Salesforce, we'll see a lot of the same themes. And Melanie will review pros and cons right after this for us. But when I open up Salesforce, we have a home page in addition to our dashboard components. And the home page can be set for the entire organization to view that data set, or each person can be customizing their own homepage if they like. And again, there's just different components that are drillable within Salesforce. We see our events, which are actually meetings or appointments. We can see our tasks. So we're looking also at the different data sets within the system. This is also interactive. So for example, anytime you see a hyperlink here, you can go ahead and drill into the actual data set. Our search bar looks very similar. It works a little differently because once you click in Salesforce, you can see the most recent items you were on. In Dynamics, there is the same functionality. It's just tucked away in a different part of the system over in the navigation bar. So I can either look up TopLine results, or since I was recently on that account, I can just bring up that record. So the interface is visually different, absolutely. We do have a lot of the same components though. So we have the tabs here. Our account is TopLine results. We can see the details field here and all the information. When we are actually editing the record, however, I click in there once and I'm not in edit mode. So we do actually click on the pencil icon or come up to the edit button. We would go ahead and we would make our change to that record, and then we would save to make updates. So a little bit different there. Our related tables, so when we saw in Dynamics, our accounts and opportunities and contacts were on the right-hand side of the page. Salesforce will put those in another tab. And again, we can change the layout based on your needs, but on TopLine results, we could see the related contact, if we're having opportunities, any of the activities are over here in the activity area, and then our notes are split out into its own section. But navigation is very similar. We can go to our contact record for Tom Dewey, just as we did in Dynamics. And again, the record set will look the same in both programs as you're navigating through the account and the contact. In our opportunities here, so on our details tab, we're seeing just the field information. On our related tab is where we would see any related opportunities or other accounts that may be related to TopLine results. In this example, it would be a parent-child hierarchy that we are setting up between two companies. In our opportunity view, we'll open that up. We'll see again a lot of the same components where we have our details tab related to the opportunity, the revenue we're tracking, probability, etc. And then we do have our process bar at the top of the page. And again, the process bar by default does not have the stages like Dynamics does, but that can be configured as well. So there is configuration required in both solutions, but very easy to set up and can be highly customized if you choose to. Lastly, I'd like to jump into Outlook. If you are using Outlook as an email solution, I do want to show you that Dynamics and Salesforce both have great integration within their email system. So when we have our email system up here, we have two buttons that we do connect to your Outlook, or perhaps you're using Gmail, and those allow you to decide what actions to take on your email record. In addition, they will find the contact in your database, and then this record becomes interactive. But directly from the sidebar here, I can see a lot of information about John Bell. I can see his related account and the opportunities I'm working on. Again, I can drill into this record, make updates directly from my integration link, and those are live updates back to the database. So very functional for both products. And before we switch back to Melanie, I'd like to reach out to Eric and see if there are any questions.
All right, so there is one question that came through. They said, I'll be interested to see how both products track email history with each contact. So it looks like you were actually just kind of touching on that. There's not necessarily a question in there, but maybe you can elaborate maybe a little bit more in regard to the tracking of the history of those contacts.
Sure, absolutely. So those would appear in either the activity timeline in Salesforce, or those would actually be in the timeline of Dynamics. In here, as well as the auto posts and any kind of calls or meetings, your email, actual email message would be in here as well. So I hope that answers your question.
It looks like it does. And so far, that's the only question that's come through yet. So I know there's a little bit of a delay from when the folks watching will hear what we're saying here. So looks like Tim just responded and said that covers it. So that's great. So looks like we're good to keep moving here.
Back to you, Melanie.
Thank you, Doreen. So that was a wonderful review of both Salesforce and Microsoft, and obviously there's so much more to learn. So I'm going to jump right into the pros and cons, starting with Microsoft Dynamics. And if you have any questions, continue to go ahead and post them in the Q&A section of the event, so that when we're done with this pros and cons section, we'll take another break and see if you do have any questions. So let's just jump right in with Microsoft Dynamics and the pros for using this platform. As Doreen mentioned, the dashboard is very configurable, and just like in Excel, where you can have a spreadsheet that is essentially a database, if you will, think of that as your CRM list views. Every row is its own record and gives you information about that record. and you can see a whole bunch of records at once. Well, in Excel, you can take that spreadsheet and you can quickly create a chart using that data. And so what dashboards are in Microsoft Dynamics is essentially the chart view of what's available in the list view. So to have a dashboard with a chart on it, you need to start with a list view. But you can take any list view you want and create a chart or a dashboard from it. The only limitation, we'll get to this in the cons, is that you're limited to 7. So dashboards are very configurable, and they can be both system dashboards that come out of the box and are available for you to start using right away, or they can be personalized dashboards that you've created, again, based on the list views, which is always the starting point for a dashboard. The second pro for Microsoft Dynamics is something called a team members license, and this is unique to Dynamics. A team members license is very limited in what it can do. It can read, provided you have the permissions, because that's the key. You can see every piece of data in CRM. However, you can only edit 3 record types. And that means you can only edit or change or input information for contacts, for activities, and for notes. All other data types you can read, but you can't change. So it's a very limited license, but it's a great option sometimes for supporting functions like accounting, or maybe even somebody in operations who just needs to get into the CRM and check out some data, but never really enter data. It's very cost effective, and we'll talk about pricing here in a little bit, but this is a significantly reduced offering in terms of price, with still a lot of great capability for users who just need to look in the CRM and not make a lot of changes. As you might imagine, Microsoft Dynamics 365 is very, very good at integrating with other Microsoft products. And so Doreen just showed you how it links with Outlook. Right within your Outlook, you can have a panel that shows you your Microsoft CRM, and you can drill down and make changes and updates. Power BI is another really great tool that integrates very, very well with Microsoft Dynamics 365. Power BI is the Microsoft Business Intelligence offering. Teams has a wonderful integration. In fact, we use Teams as our phone system and our internal chat system, etc. And we have it connected to our Dynamics 365 so that when I go to a contact record and I want to click on a phone number, it actually goes to Teams, and Teams says, do you want me to call this number? And I click on it, yes, and it auto dials. So really great integration with other Microsoft products. It also integrates really well with a digital marketing automation platform called ClickDimensions. ClickDimensions is a fully featured platform that helps you with things like email campaigns, managing events, connecting your website to your CRM, etc. And early on, ClickDimensions and Microsoft entered into a relationship that actually allowed ClickDimensions to build their solution right within the Dynamics 365 platform. Now, it's not there automatically. You have to buy it and you have to set it up. But once you set it up, it's actually completely integrated in your Dynamics 365. So from within your CRM, you have access to all of the ClickDimensions features, which is very unique. Another pro for Dynamics 365 are the multiple channels for actually buying the product. You can certainly go to a partner like SwigTech or TopLine to buy the product. You could even buy it online if you wanted, but there's a number of different choices for actually getting your hands on the product. And depending on how you need support for getting it installed, it might influence the partner that you pick. Another pro for Microsoft Dynamics is pricing. Doreen will have a slide strictly on pricing, which we'll get to in a minute, but they are advantaged in pricing versus Salesforce, and we'll talk about that in a little more detail. The cons for Microsoft 365 are, the dashboard, while it's awesome and great, it is limited to 7 elements. You don't have that same limitation in Salesforce, it is higher. So that is kind of a unique con. If you have more than 7 things you want to be looking at, you might just have to look at a couple of dashboards rather than one. And there are many, many dashboards, again, depending on what you want to look at. They come in the system views as well as personal views, and for all different record types. Another con is there is no what we call out-of-the-box campaign hierarchy. And what do I mean by campaign hierarchy? Well, I mean like having a parent-child relationship within campaigns. So let's take brain foods as an example. Brain foods can be created as a parent campaign, potentially, and each of the individual webinars can be child campaigns. And with a campaign hierarchy, you would be able to look at an individual brain food event and see not only the attendees, but any other data associated with that at an individual level, which is kind of the drill down detail. But with a parent relationship for all of Brain Food Series, you can look at all of the different brain food events that have been done, and they would be summarized. There is out-of-the-box campaign hierarchy with Salesforce. There is not with Microsoft. You never really get a true hierarchy in Dynamics 365, but we can help you simulate a hierarchy using fields and naming conventions so you can get similar reporting. So it's not impossible. There is a workaround, but it's just not out of the box. And then the other con for Microsoft is while they do offer options for nonprofits, it is far less developed than what you'll find in Salesforce. So with that, let me jump to the Salesforce slide and talk about the really great things about Salesforce. Salesforce has some dashboard flexibility that you don't get with Microsoft. You can have up to 20 elements or 20 components on a Salesforce dashboard, versus the 7. And these can be a mix of charts and dials and single data targets if you wanted to see how you're doing against a singular goal. So there's a lot of flexibility. Overall, a little bit more maybe than in Microsoft. And again, you can have up to 20 elements. Trailheads are a huge pro for Salesforce. Trailheads are what they call their online training course. And they are extremely extensive and yet very modular at the same time. So you could have one training track for a sales team, a different training track for maybe a system administrator. The online training includes a lot of gamification and some really fun characters who kind of cheer you on as you're taking the classes. And the training is just extremely comprehensive. So you can spend a lot of time, maybe even weeks or months or potentially years, learning everything that there is to know about Salesforce, or you can kind of short circuit that timeline and work with a partner who knows a lot of those tips and tricks and can share them with you, and you can spend less time training. But trailheads are very, very extensive. Both systems offer a mobile interface. The only advantage that Salesforce has is that number one, it's been around for more than 20 years and it's only ever been a cloud option. There's never been an on-premise option like there has with Microsoft. So everything's always been online. So their mobile interface is probably a little bit more well developed. You can pretty much do anything in the mobile interface that you can do online. Obviously, if you're entering a lot of data, you're going to want a keyboard because you'll just be faster with a keyboard than trying to fat finger it into a phone or a tablet. But for anybody who does traveling and needs to access CRM data in a mobile environment, Salesforce has a really great option. They also do a really nice job with Gmail integration. And as you can imagine, Microsoft tends to lean a little more toward Outlook, whereas Salesforce tends to be a little more agnostic about their email tool and integration with that. And so they probably have a little bit better Gmail integration as well. Salesforce users, they can be very passionate and sometimes almost evangelistic about how they use their system. And so there are a lot of really thriving online success communities where they can offer tips and tricks and advice as needed. And they also offer online communities for some of their industry verticals. So what Salesforce has done is taken their basic platform and offered verticals like Financial Cloud, which is basically the Salesforce CRM designed such that the out-of-the-box version is very appropriate for users in a financial market and will offer features that would be expected in that market that might not be needed in others. So not only are the success communities very helpful, but those industry verticals are as well as their marketplace, which is where you can find all the third-party tools that Salesforce has to integrate. Microsoft has a marketplace as well, but Salesforce probably is a little bit more robust and more options. So what are the cons for Salesforce? It's an absolutely fabulous platform, but obviously it has downsides just like Microsoft. Probably the biggest three are the top ones I've listed here. Pricing, it can be significantly more expensive than Dynamics 365 depending on which edition you're using. Also, there's really only one place to buy Salesforce subscription, and that is from Salesforce. And so they typically have fairly aggressive quarterly and annual targets. So if one of their account executives senses that you might be a candidate, they can be very persistent in reaching out to you and following up and trying to get you to choose their product over something else. Another con for Salesforce is its proprietary Apex code language. If you need to do any sophisticated scripting to customize your platform, then you need to either know Apex coding or work with a partner who knows Apex coding who can do that for you. A small but potentially important downside to Salesforce is the fact that they offer no static lists. So let me just talk about static list versus dynamic list for just a second. A static list is a list of specific accounts or contacts or opportunities that you decide, and it only ever exists of that list. So for example, let's say you're a nonprofit and you had 20 founding donors. Those 20 aren't going to change because you only have founding donors once. So you might want a static list for those founding donors. And in Microsoft, you can create a static list. You might have another list where you say, show me the donors who've given $1,000 last year. And those founding members might be on that list, but there might be a whole bunch of other members as well. So it's a dynamic list. You would go out and look for the criteria, show me all the people who gave $1,000, and depending on what they gave, people either move on to that list or off of that list. That's a dynamic list. And so you could create the sort of founding members list, the static list in Salesforce, by creating a new field or adding a new field and saying, show me who's a founding member, yes or no, and then search on that criteria. But lists in Salesforce are always built on criteria. You can't create just a static list. So you can get around that by creating a field and essentially doing the same thing. And then lastly, in Salesforce, there is no mail merge capability out of the box. It requires either a third-party tool or an export to Excel. So let me stop there, Eric, and see if, based on the pros and cons of the two platforms, if any new questions have cropped up.
Sure, it looks like a couple have. So let me just find my spot because there was one that came in shortly after the email topic was covered. That one, they had asked, what happens if you drag the email into other folders? Does anything change with that tracking?
Oh, okay. Doreen, do you want to take that?
Absolutely. So the tracking does not look at what folder that the email message is being stored. It's just whether or not you have tracked that into your CRM database.
Okay.
In fact, I think, Doreen, wouldn't it be true that even if you ended up accidentally deleting the email from your CRM, if it's tracked in your, deleting the email from your Outlook, but it's tracked in CRM, it would still exist in CRM?
That's correct. That's one of the value adds to having the integration is you don't have to try and maintain every communication structure in both platforms. So that's correct, Melanie.
Great. And there were a couple other questions that are more in relation to the pros and cons that you had mentioned. So this one, it says, it seems that Salesforce updates on a more frequent basis as opposed to Microsoft with their waves. Is that a true statement, what they're saying?
Actually,
I don't know the answer to that. Do you, Doreen?
Yeah, and you're exactly right. So Salesforce will usually have a seasonal update, and they call it the spring wave, the summer wave, and Dynamics will usually do a twice a year cadence or less. So correct statement as well.
Okay, and then additionally, so there's two more that I'll ask. Let's see here. Why is the App Store so much more rich in options on Salesforce compared to Dynamics? I'm not sure if that's true or not, and if so, is there a why for that?
Well, I think it probably has to do with the fact that Salesforce has been around longer. You know, they started back in the 90s, late 90s, and they have encouraged third-party developers right from the get-go, I think, to provide marketplace options and apps that supplement and complement what they offer. And so it's probably more a historical thing than anything else. Plus, Salesforce does a really amazing job in marketing, probably better than Microsoft markets their own CRM platform. And so I'm sure that probably, if a developer has to decide whether to develop an app for Salesforce or Microsoft, they might lean a little bit more towards Salesforce simply because Salesforce does just a better job of marketing their platform overall. Doreen, do you want to add to that?
No, totally agree.
Okay.
Okay, and then you had mentioned, so as the last question I'll ask now before we go on with the presentation eventually to another Q&A break. The last one is, Melanie, you talked a little bit about, as it shows on the screen here, the pricing difference that, one of the cons Salesforce is pricier. Someone had asked rough price difference, generally speaking. I don't know if that's something that you cover later on.
Well, that's a great lead into our next slide, Eric.
Great. Okay, thank you.
Great, thank you. So as we take a look at the pricing and the product editions of the solutions, there are several offerings which is very flexible for an organization. We'll start with Dynamics, and Dynamics has 3 sets of licenses. As Melanie indicated, there's a Teams user who is way scaled down. It's $8 a user a month, and the team user can only edit and add and write to contacts, activities, and notes. They can view all the other data in the database, but they cannot update or add any data outside of those 3 entities. The next level is a Microsoft Dynamics 365 professional user, and that is priced at $65 a user a month. And it does include all of the main components of a CRM system, the accounts, the contacts, the leads, the opportunities. But both of these professional in Dynamics and Salesforce do have some limitations, such as the number of custom entities you can create, or, for example, the number of workflows you can have happening. So professional for both products is really for a starting point, perhaps for an organization to get started with a CRM solution, and maybe in the future, the need to upgrade to the enterprise edition. So very easy in both solutions, again, to start with a professional and go to the enterprise. The Microsoft Dynamics Enterprise is $95 a user a month. So with that, you do have, again, less or no limitations as far as customizations. It does include some other offerings like a business card scanner, which can be an add-on in professional, but those are the 3 main levels. Now, as we discuss the platform idea, we do want to call out again that if your organization would need something like field service or artificial intelligence, both platforms do have those capabilities, but those would be, again, add-on solutions to the main purchase. So there are things that are not included that may be interesting. Can you still hear me?
Yep, there you are. Okay, I was just going to tell you. Thank you.
Okay, great. Yep, for some reason I'm muting myself. In Salesforce, there is no team user license. You're starting at the professional level and you're starting $10 more a month higher than Salesforce. Now, as Melanie mentioned, Salesforce is a direct sale coming directly from Salesforce, and they will negotiate with you on pricing. So you do just want to be careful there, because once that initial pricing promotion that they grant to you is over, whether that's 12 months, 24 months, 36 months, you will then need to pay either the $75 a user a month for professional, or you'll notice there's quite a big jump to the enterprise, which is $150 a user a month. Again, the main differentiator for Salesforce between the professional and enterprise, as Melanie mentioned, things like the API for integration is not included with Salesforce Professional. So if you need to do some integration or even some custom updates to the data for like importing or data migration, that would require you to make a purchase of the API in your Salesforce Professional or might be forcing you to buy enterprise as opposed to professional. So these are all things we're happy to explore with you. Pricing is a very sensitive topic, and you do want to, again, assess this currently and long term. Now, because Microsoft does not sell direct, they do like to have promotions. And I do want to say there is a promotion running right now for the sales professional, where in the first year, no matter how many users you have, you get the first 4 months free. So those are things that Microsoft will offer since they don't do any kind of direct sale. And that's what I have. Melanie, over to you.
Thanks, Doreen. I want to switch gears for just a minute. It was on our agenda, but it might feel a little out of place. And the reason why we wanted to bring this up ultimately is to also talk about pricing for nonprofits. But let me give a little bit of background around CRM for nonprofits versus donor database programs for nonprofits. Many of the folks I talk to who have a nonprofit or lead a nonprofit or have worked for a nonprofit are like, oh, I don't need that. I already have a donor database. Well, donor databases are fabulous and they do a great job, but they typically focus on donors and only donors. So to record and manage those details related to those donors, the donations they make, and various fundraising activities, whereas a CRM focuses on all the key relationships and their overlap. So you're not only looking at donors, but you're also looking potentially at tracking information around clients and the services you provide them, volunteers and volunteer management tools that help you manage those volunteers, board members, vendors, referral partners, grant providers, and more. So a CRM really does a great job of focusing on all key relationships. So you can ask questions like, tell me all of my donors who are also volunteers, or tell me all of my clients who also donate. So that's the kind of insight you can often get with a CRM that you don't get with a donor database. Plus, the CRM can really help you with things like the dashboards you need to measure your impact. Almost all nonprofits will have some kind of an impact statement on an annual or biannual basis. And with a lot of the work that we've done with some of our clients, we help them set up their dashboard so it's really easy to pull off that data for their impact report. Also, managing events can be done easily in a CRM, as well as case management, really recording the services you're providing and to whom, so you can really provide a 360-degree view for what you're doing for your clients. Also, CRMs always have connectivity to a wide range of digital marketing tools, whereas with a donor database, you may or may not have it. And these would include things like email campaigns and engagement metrics, website connectivity, social post and social engagement, and then lead scoring, which is really cool because lead scoring helps you know which of your prospects are engaging with you the most, so that your sales team or business development team can spend time on folks with the higher lead score and less time with folks who are not engaged at all. So just a little plug for CRM versus donor databases. CRM really offers a super flexible platform to manage, lead, and grow a nonprofit. So now let's talk about nonprofit pricing for a second. And I want to start with Salesforce this time. Salesforce has a very, very well-developed, what they call a nonprofit success pack. And like I talked about their verticals earlier, the success pack has some stuff specifically designed in their out-of-the-box version for nonprofits, for doing things like tracking donations, tracking grants, etc., as well as all the other stuff you would expect, like volunteer management and managing your services and your clients, as well as your board members. Salesforce offers 10 free licenses to a 501c3. So if you are a 501c3 and you haven't taken advantage of that, definitely something you want to consider. The first 10 licenses are free, and any additional license above and beyond that are typically half price. So if you're looking at Sales Enterprise, which is often what is our clients often opt more for Sales Enterprise more so than Sales Professional, just because of some of the features you get. You're still looking at paying, about $75 per user per month, depending on what you negotiate. But the first 10 license free, if you remember that $150 per user per month price tag, means about a $1,500 value per month on an ongoing basis that you get for free from Salesforce if you're a nonprofit. So what does Microsoft have in response to that? Well, they have a relatively new focus on nonprofits. They haven't been serving nonprofits for as long as Salesforce has, so their offering is a little bit less robust. Their add-on for nonprofits, which is free, is a little bit more complex, shall we say. They don't offer any free license for nonprofits, but they offer a very reduced price on a per user per month basis. It's down at $23.50 with no services. And if you work with somebody like us, there's typically an upcharge for some services, but it's rather small. And then any additional applications that you might want to add on to your CRM is like customer service or field service or something like that, is just an additional $5 per user per month. So a very, very robust pricing setup from Microsoft and from Salesforce for nonprofits. But I'm a data person, and so I decided to graph this out and say, what does this look like if I compare the two in terms of pricing? And if I am a nonprofit, what this tells me, again, the orange line is Salesforce, the blue line is Dynamics 365. For my first about 15 users, Salesforce typically is a lower price point. But once I get to 16 or more users, Microsoft is going to be less expensive, even though I have to pay for every license. So if you are a nonprofit and you want to consider Microsoft, there is a really, really great value, especially if you have a lot of users. But in all honesty, the Salesforce offering is much more robust and much more developed for nonprofits. So it might be worth the extra money to go ahead and spend even if you have 15 or more users. So with that, let's talk about some online and other support available. Doreen?
So as we've seen, each product has very similar themes, and this will continue as we talk about our online and other support that's available. And Melanie did validate in her pros and cons slide a lot of the differentiators here. So both offer their user constituents a lot of training, and Trailhead, as Melanie said from Salesforce, is very well developed and a lot of fun. Microsoft Dynamics does have Microsoft Learn, and again, they have not been in the marketplace with CRM nearly as long as Salesforce. So they do have great learning tools as well. Both offer online communities as far as user groups as well, local user groups and national user groups. And they are segmented. So if, for example, Salesforce will have an admin user group, for example, and not just a generic user group. So the online communities, again, more well-developed, I feel, with the Salesforce product. As far as customer engagement, both platforms offer customer conferences, online, customer summits. So there's a lot of events offered by both platforms. And then lastly, just to review the marketplace, Salesforce does have the App Exchange. And as one of the audience members pointed out, many more apps offered out there. And one may argue that, is that because you need a lot of add-on products for Salesforce? I don't know, but there is a very extensive App Exchange. Dynamics does have Microsoft App Source, so there are add-ons offered by ISV partners as well.
So at the end of the day, how do you decide which of the two CRM platforms you want? So it's at some level, it's going to boil down to personal preference for the user interface. Some people absolutely love the Salesforce interface, others love the Microsoft interface. One of the biggest success factors for getting the most out of your CRM investment is user adoption, and you're going to want to pick the user interface that is going to drive the most user adoption. So if during the demo stage of your decision making, you get really, really great feedback about one interface over another, you really need to consider that highly when you think about deciding which CRM to pick. Obviously, budget and pricing is another huge factor. We've already gone in quite some depth around that. Before you decide on pricing, you're going to want to think about not only the price of the subscription you're going to need to pay, but also the cost of any services to help you implement your platform, or any additional tools that you might want to integrate from the marketplace or the App Store, or even your digital marketing platform. Another thing that you're really going to want to think about is connectivity to other existing systems. So we already saw that both do a great job of connecting to Outlook and other email platforms, but what about an ERP or an accounting system? You'll need to know, is there an API included with your choice of CRM or not, and how easy is it to integrate, and what kind of services will be needed to make it work and keep it working? So connectivity to other systems really should be part of your decision making. And then the last two are, what are your marketing objectives and your reporting objectives? Marketing objectives can really make a big difference. And sometimes when you think about what you want to do with your CRM, you need to think about that next step and what do you want to do with marketing. Some marketing platforms work better than others. And knowing how that marketing platform works and what are the gotchas to how they work together is something that, again, an experienced partner can help you figure out. So again, kind of begin with the end in mind. What do you want to do in marketing? And that will actually help you also potentially decide on your CRM. And that is a whole webinar in and of itself, so we didn't go into a ton of detail there. But the last thing I'd say you really want to think about are your reporting objectives. If you make an investment like CRM, it should really support a business objective. So your business objectives need to be clear, and the reports you need to know if you're meeting those objectives need to be pretty clear, and which CRM can provide you with the best reports to do that. You may find that they're pretty comparable. You may find there's some significant differences. Until you dig into the details, you might not know. So those are the top sort of 5 things that we would suggest you to consider when you think about selecting a CRM. As Doreen mentioned, before I turn this back over to SwigTech, we're happy to offer anybody a little bit more customized demo or a free consultation. There's a number of ways to get a hold of us. There's info@toplineresults.com, which will go to a mailbox that we'll respond to. Our 800 number is there, or you can always go to toplineresults.com and there's a contact us form, and you can fill out and let us know that you want to be contacted. And just for you, we have put together kind of a comparison document that we will send out to everybody via email after the webinar is concluded. So with that, I'm going to flip it back over to SwigTech and have you just kind of weigh in on your experience with TopLine.
Cool. So it's really cool. Like, the reason we had chose you to be a co-presenter on today's webinar is because we're a client of yours and we've really enjoyed the experience. And that's not even like a flattering thing to just say it. We truly, truly feel we would not be where we are today with our dynamic CRM without your help. We just would not be. We have the technical chops to stand these things up and connect things. However, where TopLine helped us significantly was helping us through our processes around what is our ideal client profile, what is our sales process, when does something go from a marketing qualified lead to a sales qualified lead, what qualifies as an opportunity. You really, as a organization, helped our team work through all of those things, fine tune it, get it dialed in, and then you built the GUI interface for our team to reflect that. That's something that we certainly could not have done by ourselves, and if we did, it would have taken a lot longer, would have been far more painful. You came in and helped us with that, and it was a very beautiful process. And so, like, from start to end, we started with the end in mind, and you helped navigate us there and traverse all of that. And you continue to help us with support, lighting up dashboards. You make things very turnkey. It's very fast. It's very easy. Your staff is incredible. So quite honestly, at least from my perspective, someone who sits in outside sales for SwigTech and leverages the CRM heavily, I don't know. I wouldn't be able to do what I do without your guys' help. So it's a great process. And obviously, SwigTech, it was a very easy decision for us to go with Dynamics CRM because we're a Microsoft shop. We do Microsoft Best, et cetera, et cetera. So for us, it was a very obvious choice for that reason. Salesforce looks very compelling. I've used it before in other organizations. It's a great product also. They do really go kind of neck and neck. I actually want to ask a question myself for the audience before we ask one of the questions that did come through and get on to just a few more ending slides, which is what are other platforms that TopLine helps with other than Salesforce and Dynamics?
Well, we started way back in the day with ACT, when ACT was the hottest thing on the market as a contact manager, and we still support ACT. Believe it or not, there are folks out there who still use it and love it. But most recently, after also picking up Microsoft along the way, which we happen to use internally, and Salesforce, we've started supporting Zoho, and so we're a certified partner with Zoho. So those are the 4 platforms that we support on the CRM side. But on the marketing side, oh, the list is very, very long. It's everything from Constant Contact to MailChimp to Vertical Response, Click Dimensions, Marketo, HubSpot, Pardot, and it goes on and on. So and we help folks integrate that to their CRM. So those are the platforms that we work with most. Cool.
And we'll wrap up here. One final question from the audience, and I don't know which of you two would be best to answer it, so I'll let you determine that. But someone had asked, who owns the contact database with each software, the user or the software provider, and how is it made available if the user decides to stop using that software?
Doreen, I'm going to let you take that one.
Oh, sure. Okay, let me put my legal hat on here. And we can get that person more information because, again, I am not the legal expertise, but I know with Dynamics that you do own your data. When you leave their environment, they do provide you with the data. So that may not be in the most acceptable format. I believe you can choose between a SQL database and CSV files. Salesforce, I will have to confirm that. I am not sure about the ownership. I would have to think it's going to be the customer at the end of the day, but again, I don't want to misrepresent, so we will get more information on that. And they only provide the data to you in CSV.
Yeah, and the customer does own the data at the end of the day. And a lot of times when we've migrated folks from one platform to another, we are taking their CSV files from their former platform or their SQL database files from their former platform and bringing it into their new platform of choice. So we've helped people with those migrations. And so you don't lose your data unless you just stop paying for your subscription, right? But you own it. And if you decide to stop with proper dotting of I's and crossing of T's, you get all your data, you could take it with you. Yeah.
Great. Well, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and wrap up here and bring the plane in for a landing. So, one of the things earlier on is mentioned, like, where can SWCTech help? Obviously, you covered everything related to CRM. Like, we don't do that at all. Where we can help is around infrastructure and helping decide, should this live on an on-premise server? Should it be virtualized, et cetera? Should it live in the cloud through AWS or Azure? We can really help there and in supporting those environments and monitoring and maintaining those infrastructures, whether that be cloud or physical or virtual, et cetera. And making sure that you have the bandwidth to support that. If it's being accessed through the cloud, what does your internet service provider look like? What are your upload and download speeds? What do your firewalls look like? Do you need to put some security behind that with multi-factor authentication, et cetera, et cetera? So really, again, as we look at SWCTech as the managed service provider for IT support and cybersecurity support, that's where we can potentially help and bolt onto some of this stuff. And speaking about cybersecurity, October is Cybersecurity Awareness Month, which is something that we take, it's very near and dear to our heart. We take it very seriously. Cybersecurity is, it's a very big topic and one that we are thinking very far ahead on and doing a lot to make sure we can protect businesses. So we put together a cybersecurity panel, the 2020 Cybersecurity Think Tank. This is a virtual event that's happening on Wednesday, October 21st at 2 p.m. On the panel will be someone from the Waukesha County District Attorney's Office, Wisconsin Bank and Trust, the Better Business Bureau, IronNet Cybersecurity. We did a podcast with those folks if you want to check that out, and Rodrian Insurance as well. So we're going to be looking at cybersecurity through the lens of all of these businesses, including ourselves. We'll have a seat at the panel too. So registration for that is open. You can find more information on SWCTech's website under our resource tab, but you'll likely see some emails coming from us on that as well. With that being said, that does conclude our presentation for today, and we're just 3 minutes over. So thank you everybody for your time today, and we'll be sending out a Net Promoter Score survey to see how we did. So thank you very much, and we look forward to your feedback.
Thanks, Eric.
Thank you.